Yeah, we've got about 30 people already.
Very good. Okay, well, let's get started. I think it's important that you get through this and that we reserve the time for the question because this is really awkward for me talking through the computer. I'm just going to keep it simple and let you do what you need to do today, and let's just allow them to ask questions at the end.
Okay, fantastic. All right, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off here then. And Irina, I'm going to go ahead and put you back on mute. So welcome everybody. My name is Charlie Berard. I've met several of you, but not everybody out there. Today I'm going to walk you through CenturyVerify, which is our electronic signature solution that we use from within CenturyForce. So let's get started. So just kind of a brief outline of what we're going to go over today. The first thing I want to take a look at is why CenturyVerify. So why do we need an electronic signature solution at all, and why this specific solution? Then we want to take a look at how to get set up with CenturyVerify. So if you're a new rep or if you're selling under a new brand, what's the process that you go through to get started? Then we want to take a look at the sending process. So how do you send electronic signature envelopes out to your merchants, and how do you get them to sign those? So that'll be the signing process. We'll see exactly what the experience looks like for your end users, for your merchants. Then we want to cover the frequently asked questions. So there's 2 or 3 issues that we see that are the most common problems that people have. So we want to go over what those issues look like, as well as the best way to resolve those. And then finally, we want to have a Q&A session to let you guys ask anything that we haven't covered or any gaps that are out there. We will address those as they come. In the interim, while I'm going through the presentation, everybody else's line is going to be muted. But if you have questions that you want to go ahead and kind of get teed up for our Q&A session, you can feel free to type those into the chat, and we will start off using that for the Q&A session. All right. So first off, why CenturyVerify? Why have we chosen this particular method for electronic signature, and what value does that bring both to you as well as your merchants and then to Century in general? Well, the first reason is that it's faster than a traditional wet signature on paper. So as of right now, we have 56% of our envelopes that are sent out with electronic signature are signed within 15 minutes, which is just much faster than you typically get things back if you're faxing an agreement out to a merchant and they have to find a fax machine and send it back to you. And fully 90% of the envelopes we send out with electronic signature come back signed within 24 hours. So the vast majority of these signings are occurring very rapidly, and it can help you get your deals closed quicker. Secondly, it's secure. So with electronic signature, if you're emailing envelopes out to merchants, we can authenticate that they are who they say they are by asking them some questions about property they've owned or places they've worked, things like that, to help us reduce the possibility of fraudulent applications. Third, it's accurate. So in the past, if you send an app out to a merchant, they fill it out on paper, fax it back to you. That information then has to be keyed into our system. There's the possibility for error, for you to transpose 2 numbers in the bank account or the routing number, and then that merchant's not getting their deposits, not getting their funds. With CenturyVerify, you key everything up front into CenturyForce, and that is the version that the merchant is sent to verify and then sign. So what that really allows you to do is only have this information keyed one time, so we've got much less of a risk of incorrect information being set up at the processor. And finally, CenturyVerify should be easy for you. we've tried to kind of refine the process down to where the sending process is only a couple of clicks. Once you get set up for the first time, that seems to be kind of the hardest part, is getting that initial setup out of the way. But after that, it should be a very straightforward process to be able to send your agreements out straight from within CenturyForce with just a couple clicks. All right, so the setup process, we'll take it from the very beginning if you were a new hire, but this is also impactful if you begin selling different brands. Some folks, particularly our inside sales team, but some of our outside reps as well, are selling multiple brands. So there is a setup that has to occur before you can use CenturyVerify with a new brand. So the first piece of the puzzle in getting set up is to receive an activation email from Virtual Agent via DocuSign. So you can see here, this is the email that goes out asking you to finish your account activation. You would receive additional activation emails for each brand that you sell. So you can see this one here, we've got the NCR Merchant Solutions branding. And then here you can see this is an Office Depot Merchant Services branding. So if you're selling multiple brands, you're going to receive multiple emails, and you'll need to activate them all. You can't just activate one and have it work for everything. So within that email, all you do is click that link to activate, and that will allow you to set your DocuSign password. So that link takes you to DocuSign, and you'll get this screen. It'll confirm the email address that you're using for that brand, and you'll just create your password. Now you want to make extra sure that you remember this password. So this DocuSign password, particularly for those of you that are on iPads or that are going to be out in the field selling and meeting face-to-face with merchants, when you do what's called an in-person signing, you will need this password at the end of the signing process. So it's critical that you remember the password that you create for your DocuSign accounts. All right, so that is the initial setup piece. That is how you activate your DocuSign account. Once your DocuSign account for a brand is activated, the next piece that we need to do is we need to connect DocuSign to CenturyForce. So we have to just link those two things up. So what you want to do is, on a merchant opportunity that you want to send out for electronic signature, you'll just go down to the opportunity lifecycle, and you've got the little brown button here is your application button. So you'll just click on the application button, and that'll take you into the app. There's a couple of things to remember when filling out an app. The first is make sure that you select the right brand. So you've got your choice here of these logos for your application. These correspond to our different DocuSign accounts. So if you're selling under Century, make sure you get the Century logo. If you're selling under NCR, make sure you've got the NCR logo. So once you have that set, the next thing that you need to remember is, in order to get to CenturyVerify, you need to be able to save the app without errors. So you can see on this app here, I don't have a sales agent ID, and so it's giving me a warning here that I'm missing some information. So once I can save without errors, so now I've filled in my sales agent ID, I'll get application saved, there'll be no warnings or errors, and that then is an application that I can send for electronic signature. So once you've saved without errors, you've got the correct brand, you're going to hit generate and attach PDF, and what that'll do is it'll create a PDF with all the merchant's information, and it'll take you back to the merchant opportunity. On the merchant opportunity then, you've got your CenturyVerify button, and that's where you're going to go to get set up for the first time. So after hitting Century Verify, you're taken to, this is the kind of envelope configuration screen. And the first time you log in with a new brand, you can see we're getting an error here that's telling us that we need to provide CenturyForce with DocuSign credentials for the brand Century. So even if I've already sent under NCR, if I try to send one for Century and I haven't been set up, this is what I'm going to get. So we've got a link here, and you'll just click on that link, and that will take you to a screen where you can enter your DocuSign email address and password that we set up previously. So this is that password that I said you really need to remember. This is where you put it. And this is what will allow us to connect DocuSign to CenturyForce. On this screen, one of the kind of issues that we've seen is make sure that the brand matches up with your email address. So this can kind of be a clue if you didn't select the right brand on the app. So if the brand says Century, but you've got your NCR Merchant Solutions email address in there, probably the issue is that you just didn't select the right brand. Once you've entered all that information, just go ahead and hit Submit, and that will connect the two accounts and take you back to the Century Verify screen. So that's the initial setup. If you have any questions about the initial setup, please feel free to type those into the chat, and then we can cover them in the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. But for now, we're going to take a look at sending for signature via email. So once again, here we are in the Merchant Opportunity, and we've got our Century Verify button. You'll click that, and we don't get that error message anymore because we've already set up our account. And for this first one, we're going to select envelope delivery. We're going to set that to email. So you want to use email if you are emailing the app directly to a merchant. If you're in person with a merchant, then that's going to be in person, which we'll cover a little bit later. But if you are remote, you're not in the same place, you'll want to use email for envelope delivery. Once you set envelope delivery, you want to confirm down here at the bottom that the merchant's email address is correct. If it's not in there, you'll have to enter it. And once you've got the correct email address in there, you can go ahead and hit Send for Signature. And that will fire off an email to the merchant containing the DocuSign envelope, and we'll let them start the signing process. So the email signings are very straightforward. Just set envelope delivery to email, make sure you've got the recipient email address correct, and then send for signature. So let's take a look at a demo of the email signing process and see what that looks like in practice. So here I've got a merchant opportunity, and I'm just going to go in to my application. And so here you can see I've got this filled out with all the merchant's information. I'm going to save it. And you can see when I save, I'm getting that warning because I'm missing a field. So I'm going to go ahead and complete that. And we'll save it again. Just make sure that it saves without any errors. All right, so that looks good. So once we've got that and we've got all the merchant's information correct, we're going to generate and attach PDF. So once I generate and attach, that'll take me back to the merchant opportunity. And if I scroll down here to application documents, let me make this a little bigger for you here. So down here in application documents, you can see I've got my merchant application that I just generated. And so that is the PDF copy with all the merchant's information. Once I've got that, I can go ahead and hit Century Verify. And here's our envelope configuration. So I'm just going to set envelope delivery to email. and I'm going to set the recipient's email address, and then I'm going to send for signature. So you'll get this little waiting dialog. It can take 15 to 20 seconds sometimes to send, but once that goes away, it'll take you back to the merchant opportunity, and the merchant should have received your email. So let me go over here to my merchant email. And so this is the email that the merchant would receive, telling them that they have documents awaiting their electronic signature. So it just tells them to review and sign the document. It'll say that it was sent on behalf of your name at whatever brand you're selling under. And this whole thing is going to be branded depending on, either Century or NCR or Office Depot, whatever brand you're selling under. So they just click on this Review Documents link. And here's where the merchant has to enter their identity information so that we can verify that they are who they say they are. So they just have to enter their address, the last four of their social, and date of birth. And so what we're doing based on that information, we're going out and querying publicly available databases like the DMV and property records, and then we're generating these 3 multiple choice questions. So based on their answers to these questions, they will either pass or fail and then be able to access the agreement. So they've got to get at least 2 out of 3 of these questions correct. And some of these questions will be dummy questions. There won't be a right answer. And there's always a none of the above, or I've never been associated with. There's always an option like that. If they say, none of these apply, then that's what they need to select. So once they've answered those questions, they just hit Submit Answers, and it takes them here to the agreement. So on this screen, they need to agree to do business electronically. So that is part of making our electronic signature a valid and binding signature, is their agreement to do business electronically. So they have to agree to electronically sign. Once they agree to do that, they can then review the document. And at this point, DocuSign kind of takes over, and DocuSign really does a good job of walking them through the signing process. So if they just click on this Start button here, it kind of flashes and highlights where they need to initial first. So once they go to initial, on a computer, you're given a choice of all these different signature styles here. So they can kind of select a signature style that looks like theirs and select Adopt an Initial, and that'll apply their initials. And then they can scroll down through the document here, and just by clicking on that initial field, it'll apply the initials, and then it automatically scrolls them down to the next field that they need to sign. So like I said, it really does kind of walk them through the process. You don't have any risk of them, forgetting to initial a page or something like that. The terms and conditions are all available here if they want to read through them. They've got the option if they want to download a PDF copy. You can see up here in the top left. If they want to, print it up and read it offline, they can certainly do that. They can also decline to sign. So if they see that there's some incorrect information, say their bank account is incorrect on the app, they can decline to sign, and you'll get an email notification that they declined and the reason why. So I'm just going to complete the signing process here. And you'll notice, on the standard CPA here, there are fields for 2 signers. We can accommodate that with CenturyVerify. You just enter your 2 principals in the app like you normally would, and when you click on the CenturyVerify button, you would then just enter email addresses for each signer. It'll send off to the first signer first. Once they complete, it'll then send to the second signer. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and complete the signing process here. So once I've signed everywhere, you can see I get all green check marks over here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to click Confirm Signing. So once they confirm signing, they're presented with this screen, which gives them a few options. If they want to create a DocuSign account, they can, and that will allow a copy of the signed agreement to be stored online for them by DocuSign. And there's no charge for any of that. That's just, one of the options available. You can see they've also got an option to download a copy if they want to, or they can send a copy to their printer as well. In addition to those three options, they are also emailed a copy, a PDF copy of the agreement once they finish the signing process. So they really got several ways they can get a copy of that signed agreement. So I'm just going to close out of there, and I'll go back to my merchant email here just to show you what they receive. So here's the email that they'll receive at the end of the signing process saying that the document was completed, and then down here you can see this is my PDF copy that's attached to the email. And you can see there's their initials, and there's where they DocuSigned the document. So from sending via email, that's the whole merchant process. Really the trickiest part is kind of filling out their personal information and answering those 3 security questions. But after that, the signing process should be very straightforward. So let's go back into CenturyForce and let's see what it looks like once they've completed the signing process for you. So I'm just going to refresh my page here, my merchant opportunity. And I'm scrolling down here. There's a couple of things we want to look at. The first is in application documents. You can see that we've now got the signed merchant application. So CenturyVerify automatically attaches that back into application documents for you. So once it's completed, it's already going to be there ready for you, and you can go ahead and advance this opportunity on to QA. The other thing to look at is DocuSign status. So throughout the signing process, this DocuSign status is updated, and it can really provide you good information on whether or not your merchants have received the email, or if they've opened the agreement, if they've looked at it. You'll get those status updates. So you can see down here DocuSign recipient status. I can see here was my signer, the email address I sent it to, that he completed it, when it was sent, when he received it, and then when it was signed. So if you sent one out for signature and they haven't responded yet, DocuSign status is a good place to go and see if they've even clicked on that link in their email yet. So I'm going to go back to my merchant opportunity here, and we'll just go ahead and advance this opportunity. And you've got this screen here where you've got a couple more options that you need to select. But I just want to show you that once it's all signed, you are good to go ahead and advance onward to QA. So you just confirm your payment products there, and you can submit the application package. So that's email signing. You can see that one's off to QA, and we're all set. So let's go back to our presentation here. So just to recap the email signing process, the first thing you'll do is, from the merchant's perspective, is they'll click on Review Documents link that's in an email that they'll receive. They'll enter their name, address, last 4 of their social, and their birthday. They'll have to answer correctly at least 2 out of the 3 security questions. They'll have to agree to do business electronically. Then they'll initial and sign the document and click Confirm Signing when they're complete. and that's end to end. That's everything that the merchant will have to do for the signing process. All right, so that's email signing. Well, what about in person? I know a lot of you are out there in the field, and you are face-to-face with merchants in their place of business, and traditionally it's been easier for you to print up a copy of the agreement, have the merchant fill it out, and then you would go back in, key it all into CenturyForce, and then scan the signed agreement, upload it, and then you would push everything through. Well, we tried to make it easier for you to do those in-person signings, so that you're not having to track down a scanner or a fax or any of that kind of stuff, and you can key everything once into CenturyForce while you're walking through collecting all the merchant's information, and get them to sign right there from your iPad or your laptop. So to send an app for in-person signature, the first thing you'll do is click on that CenturyVerify button again. This time you'll select the envelope delivery method of in-person, and this time, rather than emailing the agreement directly to the merchant, in-person is going to email it to you. So you'll receive the email notification with the envelope so that you can host them in the signing process on your device. And then the pieces that you need to confirm for an in-person envelope are the signing host name. So you want to make sure that that matches your name, and the signing host email. So you'll make sure that that email address matches the brand that you're sending. Once you've got those two pieces complete, then you would just go ahead and send for signature, and that'll fire the email off to you. All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like as well. And I'm going to do my best here to show you this on an iPad. Hopefully it will work for me here. Bear with me just 1 minute. Seems to be giving me some trouble here. Here we go. All right, so you should be able to see my iPad screen now. And I'm just pulling up my Salesforce on my iPad here. I'm going to go to my in-person merchant opportunity. And so we're going to go back to our application button. And so here's the app, and this time we're going to do this on the NCR brand. And I'll just make sure that I've got all my fields complete. All right, good. So it's saved without errors. So now we can go ahead and generate and attach. And now that we've got that generated, we can hit our Century Verify button. I'm going to set that envelope delivery to in-person. And just make sure I've got my name correct in there. So remember, on in-person, we're just verifying the name and then the signing host email. So make sure that those are right for the brand that you're sending. And you'll notice I don't even need a recipient email down here for the merchant because we're going to prompt them for that email address during the signing process. So I'll show you what that looks like as well. But at this point, I should be all set. And I'm going to go ahead and hit send for signature. And it takes me back to my merchant opportunity there. So now I'm just going to check my email here on my iPad. And here you can see I've received this email. It is telling me that I'll be the signing host for the in-person signer, and then that's the merchant's name there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit review documents. And on an in-person signing, it gives you a nice little walkthrough of the steps for the in-person signing. So you're going to pass control of the device over to the merchant. You're going to ask them to actually, you kind of ignore step 2. We don't actually do the secret questions on an in-person signing. You're just going to support them through the e-signing process, help them obtain a copy of the document when they're finished, and then you'll get the device back from the merchant and enter your DocuSign account password. So once you've done this a few times, you can check that box down there at the bottom if you want to skip this piece. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue. And so now it's telling me to give control of the device to the merchant. And so then this will be all what the merchant sees. So once again, just like before, they have to agree to do business electronically. And then they will review the documents. So you'll get this pop-up here. And what we're doing is we're actually tracking the location on which the document was signed, which is just kind of an added bit of security for these in-person signings, so that we can kind of keep that with the record of the document in case there's ever any kind of dispute around that signed contract. So you're just going to hit OK. And now they get the option, they can hit that next button up there in the top right, and the little initial field kind of flashes. Once I tap on initial, it's going to actually, since I'm on an iPad, it's going to let me draw my initials and draw my signature as well. So I'll just draw my initials there, and I'll adopt those. And it applies them and automatically takes me to the next place where I need to initial. So I'll initial on page 2. And now I'm down to the signature fields. So I'll tap sign here, and I will do my signature and adopt it, and you can see it just applies that signature right to the document. Sign there again, and I'm all set. So once they've initialed and signed, they just hit that finish button up there in the top right, and this will prompt them for their email address so that we can once again email them a signed copy, a PDF copy of the agreement. So once they enter their email address, hit continue, and then it will instruct the merchant to pass control of the device back to you. So you get it back, you hit continue, and now it's going to prompt me for my DocuSign password. So I'll enter that in and hit continue, and that's it. So that's the in-person signing process. It can take between 30 seconds and a minute for the signed copy of the agreement to attach back into Salesforce, or back into CenturyForce rather. So it may take just a minute. You can just refresh the page and check it. Let's see if it's come through yet. So refreshed. Oops, still hadn't attached. There we go. So now you can see I've got my DocuSign status is completed, and then there's my signed agreement there as well. So that's the in-person signing process. Just slightly different than that email signing process, but it should work really well, particularly on the iPads. That's kind of what it's designed for. So just to recap that in-person signing process, you will click on the Review Documents link in your email. You'll give control of your device to the signer. They will have to agree to do business electronically. They'll initial and sign the document. They'll click on Confirm Signing. They'll enter their email address so that they can receive a copy. And then you will enter your DocuSign password to confirm that you have the device back and that the signing process is complete. All right. So next we want to take a look at the frequently asked questions, aka help. So there's an email address that we use for DocuSign help, which is verify@centurypayments.com, and there's a few of us in IT and CRM support that get these emails, and so we have people frequently that are in front of a merchant, or they've got a merchant on the phone and they get stuck. So what we want to look at is the most common things that people get stuck on and how you can resolve those the fastest. So first off, what documents can you send with CenturyVerify? So the documents we have available are the WorldPay CPA, multiple locations through WorldPay, add locations through WorldPay. So if you've got an existing merchant and they're adding new locations as opposed to starting somebody up that bringing on 10 locations at once, you would do an add location, and we can handle that for electronic signature. And we also have the iPayment customer processing agreement as well. So I know some people aren't aware that we have that one, but that one is available. You do the same process of just generate an attached PDF and then go into CenturyVerify. In the very near future, we will have the Century Connect agreement. So if you're selling our mobile app or our virtual terminal, Century Connect, we will have that agreement available here within the next couple of weeks for electronic signature. And then a little further down the road, we'll be adding payment forms and then additional supplemental forms that you might have for different products like auth.net or something like that. Some of the limitations currently for CenturyVerify, it is a 2-principal max. So if you've got more than 3 principals that need to sign, we don't have a way to get that third one on there. But the vast majority of your deals should be 2 principals or less. Also, documents must be completed before sending for signature. So you have to have everything filled out. You can't send it out partially completed. We don't have a way to allow them to complete it after it's already sent. So you will need to be able to collect that information before you send it for signature. If information changes or if you have something that's keyed incorrectly, it is going to have to be re-signed. We can't make edits to a signed agreement. It would make it an invalid contract at that point. So you would have to send it back out for electronic signature after you make your edits. Also, you can only send with CenturyVerify from within CenturyForce. So don't log directly into DocuSign and try to send something from there, because it's not going to work. You're not going to have the signature fields, and it's not going to attach back into Salesforce properly. So only from the CenturyVerify button. That's the only way you can send for electronic signature. And finally, you can only send the documents, the generated PDFs that are created by CenturyForce. You can't fill out a PDF and upload it and then send that. You have to use the copy that CenturyForce generates for you. All right. So then kind of quickly moving on here so we can make time for our questions. The most common issue I think that we see is we get this invalid username or password error. So somebody will try to send, they keep getting this error. What has happened is they're either on the incorrect brand, or their DocuSign username and password were stored incorrectly. The first thing you can do to confirm what your DocuSign username and password are is go to DocuSign.net. So if I go to DocuSign.net, I can enter in my username and password, and if it's incorrect, it'll tell me that that's incorrect. If you've forgotten your password, you can click on their Forgot Password link, enter your email, and they'll help you reset it. So if you have to reset that password, then you can click on the link that's provided back in CenturyVerify, and you can enter in that new username and password. All right, the second most common error that we see is no valid documents. So you click on CenturyVerify, and you get this error, shows the reason is out of date, and then it has this no valid documents. So what's happened is, even after you generated the PDF, if you went back into the application to even just to look at something, you need to regenerate and attach that PDF again. So if we don't have the most current copy of that PDF, it's not going to let you send it out for signature. So all you do, you can click on that link that's provided there to the application. That'll take you to the application screen. You hit Generate and Attach PDF, and then hit CenturyVerify again, and you should be all set. Also, we have seen there can be sometimes a few seconds delay in generating and attaching that PDF before it's available in CenturyVerify. So if you know that you just did generate and attach, you can go back to the opportunity, give it a minute, and then try it again, and it should be fine for you. All right, and the third most common thing that we see is if somebody sends an app through to QA and it gets pended, either with our QA team or if it gets pended at the processor, and you had some incorrect information on the agreement, and so now you have to correct the information and get the document re-signed. So what you need to do in that instance, because you no longer have the little brown application button down there in Opportunity Lifecycle, so what you need to do is from the Merchant Opportunity, you get this link to the application here. You can click on that link, and you can see now that I'm on the application, and now I get an application data entry button. So once I click on application data entry, it'll take me back to the application form. I can correct whatever information I need to, and then once I do, I'm back into my normal electronic signature process of just generate and attach, and then going to CenturyVerify. So that is those are the most common problems that we see. If there are other problems that we didn't cover there, if you're getting other error messages, usually the error message should provide you with some instructions on how to most easily resolve. So make sure you read that error message that's provided. The next thing you can do is search our Century Wiki. So from Century Office, you've got that little search box there. You can search for the problem that you're having, and we've got quite a bit of help documentation there for some of the more common issues. And thirdly, if you're not able to resolve it through either one of those things, you can email verify@Century Payments, and we can take a look at it on our end and try to help you out that way. If you do email verify@Century Payments with an issue, here's some information that's helpful for us in trying to track the problem down. If you can give us the merchant opportunity name, what brand you're trying to send from, so we can make sure that you're set up, the error message that you're receiving, if you're getting an error message, the best phone number that we can reach you back at, so that we can try to follow up with you. You know, a lot of times if you're in front of a merchant, we want to be able to get back with you as soon as possible. And then just a brief description of what the problem is. If you tell us, you know, that I'm having a problem, that doesn't quite get us to the quickest resolution. So the more detail you can give us, the better we'll be able to assist you. All right, so that is a brief overview, or maybe not all that brief, but an overview of CenturyVerify. If we've got any questions, let's see. It looks like we've got a few here in the chat. From Lance, where do you add the GM calculator and statements? So those are added into application documents, but they're not a part of the CenturyVerify or electronic signing process. So those are separate from electronic signature. If that's specific to the iPad, then we can go through that. We've got some training videos on how to do that on the wiki, but if you're having trouble with adding those documents from the iPad, then we can handle that on a separate call, or you can email ipad@centurypayments.com and we can set up some time to walk you through that training. Let's see, next up. Next we got a question from Sarah. On the multi-location app, will an electronic signature be required for each location form? Yes, they do have to sign each form, but they're all combined in one document. So they'll all appear together. So if you've got 10 locations, they'll just have to, you know, click the signature box on each of the 10. So it's actually a pretty easy process to have those multiple locations. It's easier than, you know, going through all that paper to just have them all there together, and just one click will get them signed for you. Let's see. Another question here. If your email address is not a Century email address for dealer reps, so if you don't have a Century email address, really shouldn't be a problem. As long as you're set up to send under a brand, so I'd imagine you would be under the NCR brand, you would just need to use whatever email address we set up for your account. So when we did the initial setup, whatever email address you were provided and whichever one you created a DocuSign account with, that's the email address you would use for everything. And if you're not sure whether or not you're set up or what email address was set up, just let us know at Verify@CenturyPayments, and we can help you through that process and make sure that you're set up correctly. Let's see. Are there any other questions? That's all I'm showing in my list here. Let's see, Irina, I'm gonna see if you're available here and see if there was anything else that we wanted to cover while we've got a couple more minutes left here.
I don't. I am surprised that we don't have more questions. I know that did Tom copied you on the track records of what we, okay, see if you can go through address some of the issues that the team is having as well. I zoomed through it myself, and let me open it up. Here we go. So a lot have come in with that was not working. The Century Force wasn't working. So I don't know, I guess we can address that on this, but the majority of it, as you can see, is that the merchant is refusing to sign electronic signature. And I'm curious how some people have overcome that. If either the merchant is just not computer savvy or technically inclined to understand what we're trying to do. But how would you approach it, Charlie, from if a merchant says to you, I to see the documents and I don't want to do anything through my email?
You know, if a merchant outright refuses to use it, there's not a ton that you can do. One thing that I found that with the email signing in particular, that's where there might be more resistance. And one thing that I've really found helps, particularly for our inside sales team, is just staying on the phone with the merchant through the signing process, and you know, just kind of reassuring them and helping walk them through those steps so that they don't feel like they're, you know, all alone trying to make it through this complicated process. Can really help, A, you know, get that deal signed faster, but B, get them to agree to use electronic signature. If you say, you know, hey, I'm sending it to you right now, why don't you check your email, and while I'm on the phone with you, we can walk through the whole process.
Okay. The other one was needed additional documentations. Since
Yep.
they're
But
not
the reps
shred.
that have had that issue, yeah, the most common request that we have as far as additional documents that aren't available now is that Century Connect agreement. And that one, we're in the testing process on that one right now. So it should be released here shortly. And I think that will eliminate a lot of those.
Okay. Well, you know, and Charlie, I don't have a whole lot to add. I think this was great, refreshing for me too, even that I juggled a couple of things in here. But all I could tell you is that, team, all I just want to say is that the electronic signature was a very expensive addition for us to make available for all of you, to make the pins better, to submit the application process faster, to basically just streamline what we were doing before. And I'm sure that those that are using are absolutely in love with it because it has eliminated a lot of headaches they've had before. So, you know, as you guys all know, we're trying to get to 100% submitted. We have some reasons here why we can't, but we just want to continue to encourage you and ask you to do as much as you can through this electronic signature, because we need to eventually arrive there, and that eventually sort of got here to where we are barely over 50% of our apps coming in. And Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, we are just about 50% of submitted accounts coming through the electronic signature. So the solution is to just have you adapt this, embrace it. It's not going anywhere. We're not going to go backwards. So you might as well adapt to technology. We call ourselves a technology company, so we need to utilize it. And I just want to hear great stories that this has, you know, you maybe haven't used it on every single client, and now you are. We want to be able to recognize those that are 100% embracing this as well. But we thank you all for your efforts, and also for participating today to learn and tweak this to where you needed to have it to be able to use it every day. So I thank you for your time, and thank you, Charlie, for putting this together for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had let's see, there's a couple more questions that have come in the last minute or so. Let's see. Greg was having trouble accessing Wiki with an email address. Greg, let me follow up with you on that. I think I know what the issue is there, but I'll just email you once we're off of the call here, and we can resolve that. And then Crystal had a good question about merchants with more than one location. Yes, you can use DocuSign for both of those locations. So you would just set up a multi-location. You make sure that they're both on the same opportunity, and you will generate and attach the PDF for both the main location and the additional location. And then when you do Century Verify, both of those documents will be included. But let us know if if you're trying to do something like that and you get stuck. Let us know at Verify@CenturyPayments. We've got a few people on that email list that can get back to you and help you get those issues resolved as quickly as possible. Also, if you have questions or even suggestions about things we can do to make it easier for you, how we can make this a simpler process and something that you're more likely to use that will appeal to more of your merchants, shoot those over to us as well. We're always looking for feedback. Let's see, and then I'll send out to all the attendees a PDF copy of the PowerPoint deck that we walked through today. just so that you can have that. And then we'll have a recording of the webinar. We'll have that available on the wiki as well. So once again, thank you all so much for taking the time to walk through this with us today. And if there's anything we can do for you, let us know at verify@centurypayments.com.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.